Roll call. Let's have a roll call.
Doan,
Here.
Nash,
Here.
Hanley,
Here.
Bryant, Jones,
Here.
Taggett, Nightingale,
Present.
Zawerko. We do have a quorum.
Mr. Taggett, unfortunately, is home in the flu.
Yeah.
Oh, I see
That's
that.
not good.
Doesn't sound like any fun.
Okay. We have approval of the minutes, first item on the agenda, which you have from our meeting September 27th, where we had more than normal discussion. It runs 3 pages this time.
I move adoption. Support.
Been moved and supported. We approve the minutes. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. So that brings us to public comment, but there is no public, so there can be no comment. Therefore, on to new business. We have in front of us a review of the master plan from 5 years ago when it was done, giving us an update of how we are doing on accomplishing all those goals. And I had to sort of first figure out that you have now put them in categories rather than the way they first appeared. And I couldn't figure that out at first, but then I did. So, as I think you know, red means there has been no action yet. Yellow, it is in process, some things have been done. Green means that these things have been accomplished. And we are here to look at that, discuss that, ask any questions about any of those things, which I have a few. To clarify, Mr. Faust, when you get back to the 3rd page there where the format changes, there's no longer all the columns. So is that because these things are not expected to even be tackled yet? Well, no, actually, some of them have been done.
Some of them have been, I think,
They were long range, I guess.
some of them were long range, and on the first 2 pages, 2.5 pages, you had a department that was responsible for it.
Oh, that
And
was,
some
yeah.
of those after that, because they're long-term and they may involve more than one area, there isn't a department that's been attached to those.
So I assume at some point there would be.
Right, or it's just something that everybody's gonna work on in
Okay.
their own area.
Yeah, that was my next question, actually. I was hoping that when we said that something had been accomplished, there might be some detail about exactly what was accomplished. I don't know how much of an effort it might be to do that, but on the first page, for example, when you go down to continue to evaluate processes and procedures, I had been assuming that if that had been done, we'd have some verbiage on what actually had been done. Can we easily discuss that, or do you?
Yeah, I think on a lot of these we can. It just says that we're gonna continue to update processes and procedures, and we're doing that in a number of different ways. One is right now for redevelopment ready, we're working on a book that would be given to developers or anyone that wants to do business in the city, that would give them a lot of background on the people that they need to talk to. When it gets on the website, it would link them to different areas of the website so that they would be able to find the information that they need to do business and to get the right, talk to the zoning guy, talk to the planning commission, and to make sure that they're ready. So that's one step that's been taken. Part of that procedure, even though it shows up in other areas here, is that we do have a map of land bank parcels that are ready to develop if somebody wanted to. We
Those
also.
would be the city, or well, that's land bank owned, actually, but
Right.
city properties, in other words, yeah.
Right. And we've identified some of the larger parcels too. I think in the first part it says parcels between 100 and 200 acres. Well, there's very few of those.
Are there any?
I think the GM sites may have over 100 acres. TRW. I don't think that one's quite 100, but it's one of the.
Which one is
larger.
TRW?
Transmission, Genesee.
Genesee.
The old transmission on Genesee.
The one that closed a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
Next to the old Sullivan's on Genesee.
yeah.
But is still not a part of that facility open for production? Is there anything going on in there whatsoever?
Not
Oh,
at all.
so it's
That
all,
one's closed.
yeah, that was the old Delco Marine, wasn't it?
Yep. And before that was a transmission.
Yeah,
Transmission
yeah.
plant.
I used to do business in there as Delco Marine, so.
Yeah, they tore down the front part of that.
Oh, that's right, yeah, okay.
And the next green area there dealt with the Bancroft and Eddy, and pretty much those challenges have been met. It's now market rate apartments, and they're pretty well full.
That's titled under this category of create a new entertainment district. Certainly, other things could be done as far as the whole district is concerned.
Well, there's that section of property where they've just knocked down, the con building and what was the other structure? The old church supply.
Right.
On Genesee.
Yeah. If, somehow, those other two structures have to come down, and that's prime real estate that would fall, I would think, exactly under this, as far as creating a new entertainment district. I envision that as being a multi-level, multi-story, I mean, with, residents up top and in the lower areas, perfect for restaurants, bars, that type of activity, which that area is sorely lacking. I mean, you've got nights where you've got the Temple, you've got Wendler Arena, you've got Heritage Theater. My good God, you've got 10,000 people down there, and there's nowhere to go.
There's absolutely no place
There's
to go.
no place to go. It is just waiting to happen.
Well, there are a number of under long-range items, there are a number of items on the new entertainment district,
There are, yeah,
some of which are ongoing right now.
right.
But I would kind of, under that, re-envision the red spot on the first page. Wouldn't that turn like to yellow or something?
Which one?
Develop a marketing strategy to attract young people, because basically, if you go to the Bancroft Eddy, that's all young people.
Absolutely.
I think that the reason why it's still showing red, because it's still showing red under our RRC, is that we have to have an effective marketing strategy that we currently do not have
Oh,
Yeah.
at any level.
just don't go down the street, woman, that's good.
Yeah, so, I mean, both the
Yeah.
one up in yellow and the one in red, they
Yeah.
go together, and that's gonna need money that we need to put towards it to develop a marketing strategy.
Right.
But it just, okay, then basically that just happened by happenstance.
And then who would champion that marketing strategy? Do we have a marketing department within the city, or?
No, we would have to contract for that. That's something that I'm looking at building into the next year's budget.
Okay, and I think that's a great idea.
Any other points or questions on that first page? So if we go to the
You know,
second.
like-
There's one thing that I want to expand on that Mike brought up. When we met, because we have a regular RRC meeting that we have right before the quarterly reports are due. Our last conversation was to develop a business tab on the city's website. And that's what Mike was referring to, is having a business tab where when a developer goes to the city's website, there will be a tab called Business Tab, right now, that everything will be listed out. So like when we talk about being shovel ready, is having the ability of somebody to come in who wants to create business here in the city, to go to this area and have everything that they need to start business.
Now, when you refer to shovel-ready, the property is clean.
Well, the property may not be totally clean. I mean, there will be a listing of the property, because that's some of the things that's listed in here. We already have 5 to 6 properties that we have listed with Michigan Economic Development Corporation that outlines like square footage, whether it has, what kind of infrastructure needs that it might have, a picture of the property. So there could be more to it. It's just
Okay.
letting them know this is what's available. We also
Okay.
have like connections with Great Lakes Bay Region. There's a website that they can go to also look at information of specific properties.
Yeah, I guess my concern is ground contamination, because that, if the
Well-
property has to be cleaned up, that's a huge expense to
Well, but we
anybody.
also have Brownfield Authority.
Well, okay,
here
there
at
you
the
go.
city. So
Okay,
if there
okay.
is ground contamination, then they should be seeking to go through the Brownfield Authority to
Okay.
get those type of.
So
But it would be a
Well,
substantial thing, of course,
It
if they had to
would,
do that.
it would, and right now, the way that, MEDC wants it, especially like with this tab that we're talking about, these are the type of items that would be incentives for people to choose those properties. What's available to
Sure.
them? A TIF, an LDFA,
Right.
brownfield, items to entice them to take onto the property.
yeah, that would be certainly far more attractive.
Okay. So, second page. We're into several different things. A lot of things there are not assigned to an department. They just haven't gotten that far yet.
A lot of them, I think the initials PM2 and 3 associate to different departments.
What do those mean? Actually, I
Um,
didn't know what
I
any of
didn't-
those meant.
It's in the master plan. I didn't bring one with me right now.
It is.
I think it's at the very beginning of those goals.
Well, that means I have to find them.
And some of them are more than one department, and some of the things here are not anything associated with the city. I mean, what we need to do is figure out how the city can help with these goals. But a lot of them, you know, like we say we want an entertainment district. Well, those property owners down there have a lot to say about what goes into their buildings.
Sure they do.
You know, so I mean, we can try to help that along, but we don't have all of the components to say, yes, this is what we're gonna do here.
Unless there was a developer that came in specifically with that goal in mind, to take and create, as I mentioned, a multi-level, multi-story facility with, you know, housing in the upper floors and, you know, the entertainment in the lower floors. The entertainment being, you know, a couple of decent little bars, a couple of, you know, different restaurants. Something that would, you know, appeal to a diverse audience.
Right, and then we could have more say, especially in that open area that belongs to the land bank. We could have a lot of say what happens there, but some of the buildings that are already there and privately owned, all we can do is anything that's allowed in the riverfront mixed-use district could go in there. I mean, I would think that the owners of those buildings would see though too, that with the other entertainment that's already down there, that it would probably be to their benefit to add to that. And so I think that's one of the ways that can happen. Like the Bancroft is opening another bar.
Oh, where are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a bourbon bar.
Okay,
Down by the little art gallery they're putting in there.
okay, good for them.
I'm looking at the master plan, and the abbreviations are not these abbreviations. They're different ones.
There are some somewhere, I know they're in there somewhere.
It's under goal, so do those things refer to type of goal, you think, or what? All those things are under goal. There are abbreviations for city council, for planning and zoning, for economic development, but not for those things that I see anywhere in the
It's
goal
probably like
section.
earlier in the document.
Yeah, it may be before that in just some of the text. I know I have seen it in
Can
there.
we assume that ED is economic development and
Right.
QOL is quality of life?
You know what, that does make sense, because they did break it out.
What is PMB then, or PM, well, it's PM3, I guess.
It has to be earlier in the document, I just remember that they,
Well,
quality
okay.
of, they listed based on like areas. Like, is this a quality of life issue? Is this an economic development issue? Is this public safety matters, whatever, you know? It's
Oh.
earlier in the document.
Any other comments or questions on page 2?
Yeah, I have a
Now,
question.
some of these will continue on and on. I mean, you know, you look at some of the areas, continue area improvements and enhancements around St. Mary's and Covenant. Those areas, there's constantly things going on to improve those areas. And I think some of these talk about supportive neighborhood programs. The blight issue, we've done a lot over the last couple of years to take care of blight, but there'll always be some.
Well, I think that's why you have a 5-year plan and then a renewal to see where you are and see if some of these things ought to be changed or.
Let me
in-
ask
in
you a
the-
question
Yes.
about one of these, the one in the middle of the page under amend the zoning ordinance on Holland and Remington one-way pairs. That was a 2012, 2013 goal, and nothing's been done, and I'm wondering,
Nothing has been done yet. We could start working on that because that plan calls for that area to be more commercial. And also, there were some plans in there for recreational type of things that there's no doubt that we have a need for the recreation, but I'm not sure that having basketball courts for kids to play on between the two one-ways was a real good idea.
Probably not a good idea.
You know, with traffic and things like that. We could start changing that. I've looked at some of that. Now, most of that area is zoned industrial right now. And we would like to
Yeah.
get the industrial out of there, but we've got a couple of businesses, like US Graphite, that's still working, and we don't want to displace them.
didn't we have an issue a couple of years ago with somebody wanted to come in and build a recycling collection
Right.
site there that I don't think ever developed, but
I think they moved around the corner, didn't they?
They moved down to Fred Salvage down around the corner.
Just-
okay.
Yeah, they just repurposed themselves with another company.
So those are areas that we could start working on. Now, we don't want to do just one parcel at a time, but if I had time or if somebody else wants to take a look at that and find an area that we could rezone, then we could start working on that.
And shouldn't this, I mean, right now is a good time because of the look we're taking, the broader look we're taking at zoning. So any zoning issues, now's a good time to
And
fit
how-
them into the whole thing.
And how would this interact with what LSL planning? Is there, we were talking about form-based zoning, how would?
Yeah,
In that area, it wouldn't affect it at all because they're working on the riverfront mixed-use district. I mean, later on, when we develop other standards for that area, we could put other standards in there, like build 2 lines or heights or whatever we wanted to do. But the first step, no matter what we did, would be to rezone that to one of the commercial districts. And I would assume we'd probably want B1 or B2 right now.
Can you with form-based zoning, it's not solely only for Riverfront District. We're just
That's my
utilizing
question,
it
too.
for the Riverfront District. This
Right.
is something that could be expanded elsewhere,
Yes, it
correct?
could, yes.
Okay.
But what we're looking at on it now is only riverfront? Because I thought it was
Yes.
overall.
The Riverfront Mixed Use District is what they're working on right now. But that doesn't mean that down the road, we can't take what they develop for the Riverfront
Yeah.
Mixed Use and say, well, that makes sense to do a lot of those same things in this area
Yeah.
too.
That would seem
So we
likely.
could do that, but what they're working on is the Riverfront Mixed Use District.
And as defined the way it is now, which is a big area.
Right.
Okay. Any further questions on page 2?
So let me just be clear, we couldn't use form-based zoning to address the zoning issues listed in the master plan, or could we?
Yes, we could. The thing to remember, and I had this discussion with Kathleen from LSL, is that form-based code doesn't work everywhere. They are writing a form-based code for the entire city of Lansing right now. But in some cities and in some areas, a form-based code, you don't want the same design throughout the entire city. As an example, take Gratiot or, well, probably State Street or East Genesee. You may not want 2 or 3 story buildings throughout the whole length of that. It may make more sense, on some of those streets, you may want car dealerships or something like that, that'll be a 1-story type of building. So you don't want that form-based code throughout the entire city, but you can definitely pick areas and say, hey, these 3 blocks are near this business or this big employment area, and it may make sense to have a form-based code so that you're having more mixed use, so that people could live upstairs and have more living area closer to where people are working. So it might make sense in some areas, but not throughout the entire city. But we could do that as, the way that I looked at it, and I think this happens quite regularly, when LSL is done and we've approved whatever it is that, and hashed out everything that they want, make sure that it all fits, and it's approved by council, at that point, we can start taking that same language and applying it to other areas if we want to. And that way we can do that without a consultant, without putting the extra money into hiring a consultant. Some of that we can do, some will need a consultant to work with us too.
Related question to that, have they scheduled any meeting with developers yet?
No, I think that that's what they were planning for maybe in December.
Oh,
When they left after the last meeting, I don't think that they'll be back till late November or December for our next meeting. And one thing that was brought up that I'm trying to work with Kathleen about is John Humphreys had mentioned that the last open house was pretty much attended by the same people that were at the first meeting. And he said, why don't we try to reach out to some of the millennials and other people? And he had mentioned the group Counterculture, and reach out to them and see if maybe we could have one of our meetings at their offices, or just to bring in more people, to get more people involved in the process. As an
or you could have it
example,
in the ballroom at the Bancroft.
what's
They
that?
might not do that.
The Crystal Law Room, at the Bancroft.
Okay.
And Mike, excuse me, there's also an organization affiliated with the Saginaw County Chamber of Commerce called the Young Professionals Network, YPN. I mean, perfect fit for what
Yeah.
we would be trying to accomplish in this downtown corridor. And they're, I mean, very easy to reach out to, so some type of, I don't know if you would want to term it a meeting, but some type of reception or function where they may be more inclined to come out and have a glass of beer and some snacks and maybe listen to a presentation and then have comment cards or whatever and get some feedback. Because this YPN network is growing in leaps and bounds, and the Chamber of Commerce has done a nice job promoting it, and that is essentially the audience that would be key as far as moving into what we're discussing in these downtown corridors.
Yeah, because they're gonna look at it from a different angle.
Yeah, they don't want to live in the suburbs. They simply don't want to live in the suburbs. It's not cool. Their mom and dad live there, their grandparents live there.
Oh, no.
They don't want to.
Right.
They want to be where the action is.
And a lot of them don't wanna buy houses and
No,
rent.
no,
No.
no.
So, yeah, that's not a bad idea either.
It is
Kathleen
definitely-
wanted to see if it fit into the budget, if we could have another hearing or another meeting like that, so.
What do you mean fit into the budget?
Well, for what they had proposed in their contract to us. As far as I can remember, and I'd have to read through it again, I think there's one more meeting with developers and another meeting with the planning commission, and then them presenting a plan for approval.
So
And,
this would be more of a stakeholder meeting, that would be additional stakeholder meeting.
right, it would be an additional.
Could you
meeting.
pursue that with them? Because if there's gonna be some cost involved, maybe we could come up with a way of raising whatever money
I
would be
think-
needed.
I
Because it
would-
seems like a really good idea.
Yes, it does,
Yeah,
so.
you need the younger people involved.
Yeah,
Yes.
very much so.
That mean,
And these are bright young kids.
yeah.
These aren't kids that are sleeping in their parents' basement. These kids all have good educations, good jobs, lots of discretionary income. That's the audience that we really need to
Do you
touch
have
base
an
with.
idea how many members they have right now?
Oh, the young professionals, I think, might have 200.
Oh, really?
Oh, they're sizable.
Okay.
They are sizable.
Yeah, that.
And they're well supported. I mean, all the kids get on board anytime they have a keg night or whatever. I mean, they'll fill a Meinberg's or wherever they go to. I never get invited to their events for a reason.
Why is that,
For
Jim?
about the last 30 years.
No, they actually just established this here probably within the last decade.
I'm a
And
formerly
it's,
young
worked
I think
very
we have
well.
an age limit.
Yeah.
And these kids have a powerful voice, an extremely powerful voice.
And a lot of them have been around and seen different cities and have
Oh,
different
yeah.
ideas.
Right,
Have you broached the subject with Kathleen?
with who?
Kathleen?
Yes, I have. She said,
And-
she said she would check on it and see.
I think
I think they're just, I think they put us to the side a little bit right now while they're finishing up some of their other projects.
I think it's a situation where you'd be penny wise and dollar foolish not to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So if you would pursue that and maybe
That's
by our
nice.
next meeting, we'll
Imperative.
know something. Good suggestion. Okay, we're on page 3 now.
I think there's a typo in this, right?
Are you
Is
on
there?
2 or 3?
On 3.
Okay, on 3. We're on 3.
On that, the second red box, is that a right sixing?
Yeah.
Right sizing?
I assumed that was. We are not right-sixing this community.
Okay, good.
That's some
That
sort-
probably should be a Z.
some subversive pro-gun lobby thing, I
Yeah.
think. 6 gun, that's what that means.
Well, actually, the first red one, I don't think you can do a lot because of budgetary reasons with the police and safety officers. So I think that's gonna be an ongoing problem.
Well, I don't know if it's red. I mean, we moved to a quadrant system for public safety.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
I'm not
Oh,
sure why
oh.
it's red,
Oh, good.
because there's been a lot of strides in changing that. We also have MSU, or Michigan State Police Officers in the city,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on that I don't see why that's a red.
Yeah,
Well, see,
and,
this issue comes up in 2 or 3 places, and so what I did in a case like that is tried to fill in the one that was worded the best, and those are probably yellow. Now,
There are
this one, you're right, could probably be
I-
yellow,
I would
too.
think that would be yellow, just because of what
Yeah.
I've seen this summer,
Mm-hmm.
working with Friday Night Live with the state police and the county and the city police, and those, all good. It
There
was
are-
well covered.
There are several things that are overlapping, so when we get that, finally doing our update, maybe we can clean that up a little.
yeah, you're exactly right, Jack. The collaboration amongst the 3 agencies and the overwhelming presence of the Michigan State Police.
Yep.
I mean, I see the Michigan State Police in neighborhoods, just driving through neighborhoods over where I live.
Yeah.
No rhyme, no reason, but they've got a presence.
No, that's because you.
They've got an
that's 'cause you
absolute
live
presence. Well, maybe that's because I live there.
And that's another thing to point out is that the crime stats, it shows that, city of Saginaw is no longer up in the top 5
Yeah.
there. No.
in crime, so I mean, it's dropped dramatically, so.
Well, the criminals are gonna go where the money is, so if there's no
We're not that broke.
That was brutally honest.
money. Yeah.
Now, on this page, the very first one under the checklist for action, the reason there's no color there is I did not
Oh,
get with
oh.
Yolanda and see how the brown field cites to green fields, if anything was being done in that area.
There's nothing that's been done yet on that.
Okay.
That's all red.
That one be red. We're working through our brownfield sites right now.
On that page, if you go down to the second green one, where we're talking about incentive program for business located in Saginaw by offering 3 years rent in exchange for a 2-year lease. What? What properties are we talking about there? Where, do we have such a thing? Well, I never heard of it. Free
The-
rent. What, what's the?
Those were
heard of that
green
one.
when I got this list, so I'm not.
So they were probably talking about how like some like Hospec Pickles, they're helping like employees find homes. But I've
Within
never
the
heard
city.
Yeah, within the
Within the
city,
city,
but I
yeah.
don't know if
Correct.
it's free. I'm
Right,
sure there would
and
be some
Covenant
cost.
offered the Walk to Work program.
Yeah,
Where
correct.
they were giving money to employees if they lived in a certain area of the
Right.
city.
Okay, well, this is a good example where it would be good to know. What are we talking about? Green is not enough, we need to know specifically. I don't have any other questions on that page. Anyone else on that page?
Did we ever really do anything with bioenergy?
No. That's
That's the
another one that
third
was
green one.
already marked there. We've done a couple of things with solar energy, like at the Dow Event Center, and there are solar panels across the street too.
So I'm just wondering if you're like, because we had received a lot of those grant dollars for energy type, like the LED and changing things over to make them more efficient. But I don't know if we have done anything on bioenergy.
Well, that was just one of the examples there.
I did have a question.
You know, it says alternative energy and then such as bio.
What exactly is bioenergy?
Well, one example would be you would take the waste and, like in landfills, you'll see that when they cover up the waste, they put pipes in the ground and capture the methane gas.
Methane.
Oh,
And
okay.
in some places, well, I went by one the other day, I don't remember where I was, and they were just burning the gas off, but I've seen
You
other
used
ones.
to see that everywhere.
Where there are greenhouses set up on the edge of the landfill, and they heat
okay.
they heat the greenhouses with the gas,
With the methane gas.
with the methane gas.
But you would essentially have to be structured right next to a landfill?
Pretty much. from the
You could
ones that
pipe
I've
it somewhere,
seen.
I
I
guess,
mean,
but-
I don't know that whole technology, but the ones I've seen,
Yeah.
the gas is captured and used right next door.
Right
so
next
that-
door, yeah.
So you're not running pipes across town or something like that.
So that may or may not be a viable alternative.
Right.
In an urban environment.
But there are other forms of bioenergy. We still have the wood chip fired boiler possibility, I guess. That was more toward the forefront several years ago. I haven't heard a lot about it lately, so maybe it's not as cost attractive, but. Question on the very next one there too, the Land for Jobs program, what is that? The last green one? Creation of a Land for Jobs program.
I have no idea what that is. And like I said, those were already marked when I got the list.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that is.
Well, I mean, but this list is coming right from the master plan, so these could be simple recommendations that we may not go with. I mean, like the next one down. I
Well,
don't see
but-
any wind or methane or solar biofuels going on in the city of Saginaw.
But it says this was done, so I'm just,
I have no clue. I've not heard of it, so.
so,
It may have been examined and they said, we're done, we're not gonna do
Okay.
anything with it.
well,
Because some
again,
of
we need
these,
some way to.
some of the things in this list, we really don't have much control over.
You see, it was in the master plan.
It was, yeah, it was in the
In fact,
master
my
plan.
memory banks, I'm thinking, back when we did this the last time, we had one person on the commission. He was a younger guy and he had all sorts of interesting ideas, and I'm sure that's part of his input. And that was even with the air turbines and stuff, you can't do them here. He was the one that brought up this stuff, but he's not even in the state anymore.
So, things like that happen and,
Well, and there are
we don't want to
some
wait
things that
5 years before we try to figure out
Yeah.
what they
Well,
were.
I mean, maybe we need to implement it and put another color in there, like, yeah, this is not gonna happen.
Which one's
Maybe
that?
so.
I mean, it's
Maybe
kinda
it was
like- it's
discarded.
kinda like,
I would
it's a
probably,
good suggestion, but you really think it's gonna happen?
Or better yet, maybe
Yeah,
some
yeah.
brief
We don't have
discussion
a-
of what actually was done.
we don't have a do not happen color, do you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We can develop one.
I think you need to develop one for a couple of these. It's not gonna happen. Because these are usually the bullet points on this stuff.
Any further questions on that page? If not, the next page. We only have a few greenies there, so a lot yet to be done on those things, assuming they stay in the plan.
Did you ever get a copy of the updated recreational plan?
I did, I just got it, yesterday, so I haven't even read it yet, I just got it yesterday.
Is that, I assume, different than actually what's online now?
It may be online.
I thought I had read one earlier in the summer online.
Well, they completed it, back in March, April timeframe.
Yeah, so
So
I
it
I
may
think
be
it-
online.
I think it's been online.
When I see a couple of these things in red, I'm gonna go from the bottom first. Aren't they trying to do something with Old Town and with that Main Street community?
No, it's
Nope.
been dropped.
It's been dropped?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Jane Fitzpatrick
Patrick.
did a lot with that program, and then she worked on it for a few years and had some other commitments, and somebody else,
picked
the
up.
Old Town picked it up, but they pretty much in Old Town said, we're already doing these things on our own, and they didn't want to keep attending the meetings all over the
Okay.
state.
Plus, there's a part of that, Main Street was actually hiring a person and having a committee,
To do that.
right, which is a duplication of efforts.
Yeah.
And that was the next step that they were going to be at to get to the next
So that's,
level.
so we're gonna get into that would be another one with the other color. It ain't gonna happen. they
But,
can-
but again, a discussion why
Well, yeah.
would be good.
discussion.
So
Good, yeah.
people know, us and the broader community. That's why it's purple.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, that's for discussion,
You know,
no, no, yeah.
Just a short paragraph. So you're moving up that page on your greens or reds, or what
That's
what are you
that's what
doing?
I go about from the bottom up.
Now, when you get to some of the white areas there, I did not know if any grants were being sought for Veterans Park. I'm-
What we had received, I don't think it was Vets Park. Yes, we did. We got grants for Vets Park.
So-
It was a while ago. It was a couple of years ago.
Okay. See, that's the part I don't know is how that's developed since the master plan
So
was
it's-
developed.
So that should be green.
Green, and you're not supporting, somebody's supporting Saginaw Promise, aren't they?
Yes, there's people still supporting.
Yeah, that,
it.
I think that should be green too.
But what does that mean, supporting it?
We're working with them to try to make it happen.
No, but they already started, students are starting to use the money right now.
Well, yeah,
Right
they've
now.
been in business for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so that
I
should be.
think they've raised to date somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000.
Yeah, that, I think that should be,
They've raised a substantial amount of money. That Magic Johnson got behind all of that, did he not?
yep.
Yes, he's
Yes, he
donated a
did.
lot
Yeah.
of money to it.
But there's also been a lot of local funds donated as well. I mean, they've been extremely successful with that in Kalamazoo. People are actually,
Well,
I just heard
but-
this on the radio the other day, NPR, mind you. People are actually relocating to Kalamazoo for that program because their children can get a college education
Yeah.
paid.
See, Kalamazoo had some major donors.
One major.
Yeah, that was Stryker?
Donated a
They
lot
had
of money.
Stryker, they had Pfizer.
Sure, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, there's heavy money there.
But the start of it was one giant
Right.
promotion, or donation. To go back to grants for a minute, maybe you are the one to try to answer this. There's a lot about grants here every now and then, but of course, and we're always looking for money. Generally speaking, are we doing well, you think, if you know, in getting grants for all these things? Is that difficult? I know we don't have any person who's doing it full-time.
The way that grants work here at the city is that, no, we don't have one individual person who writes grants. Grants
As we
is-
used to a while ago.
Well, we had it a while ago, but there
Yeah.
was some issues, and that was, the person was housed in fiscal services. Grants administration is done through my office. But the departments, they manage their own grants, they write their own grants.
They apply for it.
They provide the information to OMB,
Mhm.
who in turn provides it to the city manager for his approval to move forward on. The issue is that as of December 26th of 2014, the federal government implemented a new OMB standard as it relates to grants, which is it's kind of rigid. So all the new grants after that point in time fall under the new OMB super circular, which we're currently trying to roll out in
So
the
those would be
city.
federal grants.
Federal grants, yes.
And most of what we go after are federal grants.
A lot of the grants that we do go after are federal.
Yeah. But
We
there are
do
other-
have some smaller grants, like recently you approved the Consumer Energy Tree Planting Grant.
From their foundation.
Yeah, from a foundation, yeah. But most of the grants that you're looking at is not gonna be like small grants. You're looking at either state grants or federal
Yeah.
grants.
So do you have any feeling for generally what our success rate has been in those?
Most times that we apply for grants, we get them,
So it's a matter of knowing what's out there and meeting the deadline
yes.
and getting the ducks in a
And
row.
administering it,
And how to write it.
right, because it is very
So
difficult
to
process.
administer a grant means that your office then has to file reports all the time. right?
Well, the departments must file reports. It's done either twice a year or every
Yeah.
quarter. And it's
Right.
not just a written report, performance report. You also have financial reports.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very time consuming.
But if they're organized and they know that's coming, at least they can not
I
have to
would
do
say
it at
that
the
we
last
try
minute.
to make sure that, because we have our enterprise system has a grant module that sets due dates for them. It will notify them
Yeah.
of like when the reports are due. But it's a very time consuming process.
Do you often get involved in talking
Yes.
to them and say, hey, you know, you gotta have this 2 weeks?
I
Okay.
talk to them all the time. I'm the budget person. I'm talking about
Well,
money all the
yeah.
time, so.
About everything.
Yeah. But I mean, to actually get a grant, you're gonna need somebody who can commit 100% of their time to seeking these grants.
In the department.
Well,
Wherever
in
it is.
general, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, do a lot of departments have that? Actually, they don't, do they?
No,
So-
because remember, I mean, like,
They just don't.
we do more with less. We do a lot more with a lot fewer
Yeah.
people. We wear multiple hats around here.
Is there ever any opportunity for volunteers or interns or somebody to?
I have an intern who's working with Mike
Yeah.
right now, and I have an intern on OMB side. You've tried to do
Paid or unpaid?
Mine's paid. The one that's working with Mike is unpaid.
Wow. It's a challenge.
Mhm. But we've had great success with unpaid internships here.
Hmm,
So.
well, it's good to hear. Okay, I'm on the last page.
I want to go back to, I think another one should
Okay,
be.
one more.
On one of the blanks,
Yeah,
that's six innovative partnerships. What is that? For recreation? You have one.
where are you?
It's on the fourth page, right under the number, right here.
Okay.
Because you have Friends of White Park, you got
Mhm.
that leased out, that should be green.
That should be
Right.
very-
Yep.
Now I'm on the last page. On that green one, the first green one, what were the issues with absentee landlords? What did we wind up doing there?
An ordinance was developed for the landlords. The absentee landlords had to fill out and get a permit and give us the name of a contact person. And that's an ordinance that has passed in the last, what, maybe 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago.
So we now have a document from every absentee landlord?
Not necessarily. We enforce it when we find the people that are absentee.
So
But I'm
maybe-
not sure we know who they all are.
Maybe we're missing a lot of them then.
What's the
Well-
process to identify an absentee
Well,
landlord?
normally when they come in to get like their water turned, or if
Yeah.
a tenant comes in to get the water turned on, they have to provide proof that they actually own the property, and if they don't, the person who actually owns the property has to come in
Has to come in.
and.
Where do they go for that? They-
Water billing,
Yeah, they don't go to you, they, okay.
fiscal services.
Yeah.
They have to
Oh,
go to water
okay.
billing, so that's part of the process. The clerk's office, they have that not owner occupied process that they have to go and seek out individuals, like if you have a vacant property, comes up on our list through GIS.
Yeah.
They go out there, if you have someone living there, they're asking the questions, because there's a fee that goes with
Okay.
owning these properties.
So we should have pretty good idea of all of them? Or,
I think that there's I don't think it's in too bad a shape. I mean, I don't think we have them all because you also catch them when they come in for rental registration. But not everybody does that, and then
what is rental registration?
every
Get registered property.
rental has to be registered with the
Mhm.
city.
And
Has a
inspected.
rental.
You're supposed to rent, but a lot of people don't. They just rent,
No.
yeah, they do it illegally.
I'm sure.
But I think with the scenic people, between code enforcement, police, fire, you're out there on the streets all the time.
There, They're always,
There's, see, people out there where you
Yeah.
can, notify our GIS individuals, and they can map out, we need to go out to this building to see.
yeah,
Then we have someone dedicated in the clerk's office to work on rental registration. So it's a interdepartmental or multi-departmental effort on dealing with these absentee landlords. Plus, cities developed a good relationship with the landlords association, so.
and the absentee landlords are, or maybe are not members of that?
They may not be members, but I mean, they
I mean,
talk
that's a
amongst
voluntary
themselves.
thing.
And a lot of times you have to think about how the property is purchased. So that, of course, you need to go to like the assessing office. Someone can purchase a property, like the Behringer building, the one that's a hot issue. The guy purchased it on Craigslist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Nice.
he did.
He purchased it on Craigslist.
That was a red flag.
Right,
But what could you do?
right.
You
You,
can't do it.
I know.
right, a lot of people purchase property and they don't even live here in the
Oh, it's
city.
incredible, the things, that-
But
Are
if they
bought
want to
on-
rent it, you have to get water in there.
yeah,
And
So-
we have a really solid relationship with Consumers Energy, so.
yeah.
So
Well,
that's where
key.
the red flag would go up, either on the water end or the consumer's energy end, and,
Mhm. And the people being on the street
yeah,
watching.
yeah.
Okay, I don't want to dwell on that a long time, but that's good to know. Any other questions?
Party
Anybody?
stores. What's that all about?
Party stores.
Amend the zoning ordinance to address appropriate locations for party stores.
I think that's, again, this goes back to 2011, 2010, probably with the problems that we've been having with party stores, and some people didn't want them located in
Okay.
certain areas.
Okay,
Is
was
that
a wish
recently
list
enough
then,
that
huh?
we dealt with that?
No.
It seems familiar.
No.
No?
The other thing with the party stores too is, when you get into basically like around the courthouse and back around Mackinac, there's a lot of vacant old stores. And they wanted to cut down on people opening the old stores and making them into party stores again in the residential areas. Because I think somebody told me on Mackinac alone, from Arthur Hill all the way down to Michigan, at one time there were 13 stores, or about.
And I think there's
Yeah,
still,
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
can picture 3 buildings that are still there.
Still party stores on Mackinac, just, that would be east of Arthur Hill.
Well, when I lived on Mackinac, we used to call that one Dirty Bills.
Big Bills.
No, it was Dirty Bills then.
Yeah, or Bill's.
And he
Bill-
survived
It's
all
just
the
plain
competition.
Bill.
Bill's
It's just
part,
plain
Bill's
Bill's
Party
Party
Store, that's right.
Yeah, I think
Because
that's
that's, because my children grew up on Wiley, and that was their favorite stop every night. They go to Bill's for a popsicle or whatever.
good Slurpees.
He's still there.
So as you can see, after going through this checklist, there's a lot of things that have not been done yet.
Yeah,
And that kind of rolls into the next item on the
Yes, it does.
agenda. Is, we started out late last year, actually, I think about this time last year, of reviewing the master plan. And then there were other things that happened. Some of the people that were involved ended up, not from the city, but from other places, ended up taking other jobs and doing other things, and so they weren't involved with the process anymore. Michigan State University was going to help us out on this, and there were several issues there. The most recent one is the person that they have to cover this area of the state, that position is empty right now. So we had no one to help us from them. They hope to fill that position around the first of next year. So sometime after that, we may be able to get some help from them. But the people that did review the master plan said there really wasn't a need to rewrite it or to do a lot of major changes to it, because there were still a lot of things that we needed to accomplish in it.
obviously.
So,
So what do you call this, when you're not doing a new one, so what is the word, the legal term?
Revised?
What is it? Is it
Well, it's still an
revised?
update,
Updated?
an updated
Yeah.
master plan.
So it has to be done, what, every 5 years?
yeah.
So we just,
But you can ask for an extension.
extension.
And
So that's
I
what
guess that's what we're asking for now, is
Yeah.
that, and this is something that we can continue to work on, this list of goals here, to see if there's anything that, as a planning commission, that we can do to meet some of these goals. The other thing, though, is probably to extend it for a couple of years anyway, so that then we'll have time to maybe accomplish more of these, because the redevelopment ready certification process will help us accomplish some of the goals in here.
Yeah.
And we're working quite steadily on that, because that's an important thing for the city to accomplish. So, we need to make a recommendation to city council on when we think we would want, how long we want to extend this for, and when we'll get back to working on it. Not the goals, but to revise the
Yeah.
master plan. Some of the things that could be revised, I think we're still in the master plan. Most of it was still using data from the 2000 census. I think there were one or two areas that had some 2010 preliminary data in it.
And maybe there would be some more 2010 data by now, I would think.
Oh, yeah. There'd
Yeah,
be,
a lot.
you know, well, everything that they do.
Should be
yeah.
all. Okay.
Some of the street information in there could be updated. But it's not anything that's major at this point. I mean, it's things that we're updating, but it wouldn't really change the goals that we're trying to work on.
I wouldn't think so.
So as you're talking about changing this, are you looking at getting a company to assist you, or how you plan on updating this information? How are you trying to pull it together?
Well, it's something that we need to work with other people in the city to determine what we want to do. I mean, it was determined this year that we probably weren't going to hire a consultant to do it because it wasn't major enough to do that. I'm thinking that probably we could work with Michigan State to get a lot of that, to work with some of their students to update the census data and things like that, some of the basic things. Other parts of it, they're not major things. I mean, I think there was a map of the sewer systems and a map of the streets, and we could update that on what has been changed. Those are things that are ongoing. I think some of the goals even talked about updating the sewer systems and things like that. And that's happening. Every time you see a street torn up, they're also doing what's underground to fix that too. Because some of this stuff is 100 years old or more. I mean, we found wood sewer pipes underground, so.
And those were the good ones.
So,
Well,
I was gonna say, we gotta wait to see what Kathleen and her group says.
Right, and that's
then-
not, yeah, and that's not gonna happen probably till the first quarter of next
And we
year.
need to
so.
see, how long before maybe we get the shovel-ready certification?
I just heard from Christopher Germain earlier this week. He returned in our third quarter. We still have some work to do, but we've knocked off a lot of it, so
So,
it's gonna be a minute.
I know,
I mean-
I'm just saying, so we can give ourselves enough lead time,
Mhm.
like 12 months, 18 months, what are you looking at? No,
For the RRC?
no, for just a recommendation that we would give the city council.
Well, I mean,
Well-
you have to give it to city council now, don't you?
Yes, I have to give them a
Yeah,
recommendation now.
recommendation.
And I think that recommendation would be just, let's extend the master plan
Yeah, yeah.
until
That's what I mean, the months, how
whatever
much you would want to
date we
extend it
pick.
to what's.
So you're saying how long you want to extend
Extend
the,
It'd be the recommendation, but how long do you want to extend it for? That's
are
what-
you talking 1
But-
year, 2 years,
Yes, sir.
5 years? I mean, how long?
Yeah.
And that's up.
Okay, but now, that's a separate question, isn't it, from what we're talking about here?
No.
No,
It's
same-
not.
Same question.
The question, they're probably gonna provide something similar to what you've been provided today to city council. But you have to make a recommendation from the planning commission as to, continue and working on this and how long it's gonna take.
I want to continue.
Are we gonna say, just
Okay,
approve
that-
this for the next 5 years? We're gonna work on this for the next 5 years? I mean, what are you gonna tell council?
Yeah, I want the time frame.
I would keep that as short as possible. That's my thought. So, you said 18 months?
12 months, 18 months?
Yeah, I was gonna say like 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 months.
12 months would be okay.
Would that help or not?
When you do an extension, do they tell you you can extend it for X amount of years, or?
I believe the maximum you can go is 5 years. I've been reading some of the information on it.
No.
They say even, the document from Michigan State University says, even if you decide to extend it for 5 years, you should look at it every year just to make sure that you're
Well,
meeting some of
always
those
specific.
goals.
Yeah, we need a specific, yeah. We need to get a specific goal so we get it done.
Well, I guess,
Well, I mean, but isn't
Yeah.
that really kind of the issues that we did it 5 years ago? And last year about this time, we're starting to talk about it. You're already, 5 years in it?
yeah,
And what have we done? No
Yeah.
one's really, it's kind of sat on the shelf,
that's
right?
right. And that's not the way it's gonna be now. I would be good with 12 months. Should we say they were extending it to December 31st, 2017?
That's 14 months.
Yeah, about 14.
Just to give us all of next year. Is there any merit or demerit in? doing
Well,
it?
the thing is I'm trying to figure, I think that might be the time that we'd want to start updating again, not having it completed in 14 months. Give the 14 months as time to try to work on some of these goals, and then in 14 months, let's say the beginning of 2018 is when we would start updating this information, having the public hearings. I don't think you'd want to do it any sooner than that.
Hmm.
The other thing you have to keep in, and it's just me being the budget person throwing this out, is that last time it cost, what, $111,000 to do?
Yeah,
The- Yeah,
that should be in the master plan,
yeah,
what it costs.
it
It
did
should be.
cost a lot. Although we went with the low bid, they
Yeah.
chose to go with another person, which was a little bit more expensive. You're gonna have to budget for that. That's not something that comes out of like nowhere. You have to budget.
Yeah,
You're gonna do this 12 months, you're gonna have to look at it from the perspective of the monies will be available either in that year's budget or
Or the year after.
the year after's budget.
Yeah, 'cause
so
we-
does that fit with what Mike is just saying?
I don't think so.
Work on this for a year and when we talk
Well, I
about-
mean, that's part of it, but you have to be, I'm saying you have to be strategic of when you have it in the budget so
Yeah.
you can get paid for it.
So, thinking about calendar years and fiscal years.
Fiscal years, we are July 1 fiscal year.
So if we said that we're gonna extend this through 2017, then as you just said, I think, begin working on an update in 2018.
Our 2018 budget.
Would that mean then that you would need to have
Our
the money in your
20
budget for next
Our
fiscal year.
2018 budget starts July 1 of 2017.
So it'd have to be in that budget. Is that workable?
We have to, I mean, it's gonna be your recommendation to council, and the council says we agree, then that's how it would go.
But that, at that point, only gives us 8 months
Yeah, because you got to,
here.
what Yolanda
Well,
and Mike are gonna say.
no,
Well, you see, if you haven't been through this before, like, you gotta do all these public hearings, and you gotta have all this insights. This is a lot of work.
but that's what we're saying, we'll
Yeah.
start in 2018.
Yeah. True, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
You
oh,
might-
I know.
you might-
But
Yeah.
that budget, the 2018 budget, actually takes effect July 1st, 2017.
So we
Yeah.
might want to
That's
wait
right.
for the
And
2019 budget and
have
start
it
July 1st
First,
of 2018,
2018.
which would be about a year and a half, a year and two-thirds from now.
It's
I don't-
it's a lot of work,
It is a lot of
A
work.
lot
It's
of
a
work.
year-long process.
process.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I've read it, every page.
No, I've done it before. That's
Yeah,
why I know.
me too.
Yeah. You there?
I did.
So
mine.
that-
That's
Well,
the
it'll be a
last
lot of
time.
work in
Yeah,
2018 or a lot of work in 2019.
Well,
It's no different.
logistically, 2019 probably makes more sense, in my thinking. And I've never been through the process, but it sounds as though it's a time-consuming process.
It's a very time consuming.
So to write it into the 2018 budget gives us 8 months.
Yeah.
Well, that's not giving us any time, that's just the timing for the money.
Money. You
That's,
actually-
that's not working on it.
That's correct, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I like even numbers. I like 2020. I like even numbers.
No,
Because that 2020 is actually starting in 2019.
I don't even like 2019, but
Yeah. Well, if you go through all the hearings and stuff you gotta go, that's gonna take you almost 8 months to a year.
Right, you're gonna hire a consultant.
it
and
doesn't
it's a
matter,
year
it's gonna
long.
be that same effort, whichever year we do it.
But see, we're working on some of this anyway, in that a lot of time is being expended on the redevelopment ready
Yeah, there's an
by the
overlap.
same people that have to work on the master plan.
So, we don't have enough staff to do both. Everybody's wearing
And
double hats.
by doing the redevelopment ready,
It
then
does-
you're meeting some of these goals and you're getting ready for what
It
needs to
does
be.
lessen the burden compared to
It
the last
depends on
time.
who has the burden.
What?
I said, depends on who has the burden.
Well,
Whatever you decide, you're gonna have to bring it before council, because they're gonna have to approve
yeah.
doing the extension.
Well, then, I'll put something out here for a motion, even though it's not my first choice. That we extend the current plan through 2019. And that we are recommending that we begin our update then.
With the 2019 budget year, or,
Yeah. Calendar
Yeah.
year, fiscal year.
which would be July of 2018.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a motion. Do I hear support for that?
Support?
Been moved and supported that we renew the current plan,
We extend the current.
extend the current plan for 2 years. Or actually, the current plan, well, I'll leave out the number of years and just say through 2019. And that we begin our update then. Is that correct way of wording it?
With, well,
With the, any,
2019 budget year or the end of 2019?
It'll be through
Right.
the 2019 budget year.
Yeah, 2019.
Starting 7/1 of 18.
Right.
Correct, correct.
So that has been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard at least 3,
Aye.
4,
Aye.
5. Motion carries. So, that is our new goal.
So-
Old business,
I have a question.
Okay.
When are you taking this to council?
I was told I needed to present them with a recommendation in November.
So like the second meeting in November?
When did you
Because
do-
our first meeting is next week.
Yeah, that's too early to get to council.
It's not deer hunting season or anything, is it?
I've only got one other thing under old business, a reminder of that redevelopment ready meeting on November 1st, if anyone can attend. We have, what, two people going with Mike?
Who's all going?
Yolanda, have you done this before?
I've already done this.
You've done it, yeah. So you'll have at least 3 people up on it, and that'll be a good thing.
Bob and Jim and me.
Excellent.
There's room for one more.
Dana's not going?
We haven't talked about it. I did give her the flyer on it, so.
Kana, I could talk to her. I could visit her. Should she go? Should she should.
She's good.
Anybody should. Was it good?
It was good. It was very long.
Yeah, all day thing, for
It
sure.
is. It's 6 parts. Yeah.
Did you do it in Lansing?
I did it in Flint.
Ah, well,
It
no,
was
that's
2
too
days,
easy.
yeah.
Is that why your eyes look funny? You drink the water?
You did it a long time ago, right?
Mhm.
When did you do it?
I did it a couple of years ago.
No, that's what I thought.
Yeah. But, it was very long training.
Well, Mr. Nightingale has left our meeting and without my permission. But I guess that means we are adjourned.